Hello, I'm Graham Elwood, and you are watching The Political Vigilante. Today, I want to go over an article that came out in the February 12th issue of the Los Angeles Times, and it's about how the city of Los Angeles is aiming to cut the city's temperature. And while you might be like, I don't live in Los Angeles, it doesn't affect me. It actually, Mayor Garcetti, who is up for re-election March 7th, if you live in LA County and are not a registered voter, please register and get out and vote March 7th. So why this relates, what the article goes into is the mayor's plan to reduce the city's temperature and what causes these temperatures and what can be done to reduce them. And it's something I'm saying to you, if you live in a city and you want to help do something about global warming, there's stuff you can do if you manage a building or your own home, and of course to petition your local lawmakers on steps they could do that would be similar to what the city of Los Angeles has done. So Deborah Netburn is the one who wrote the article in the LA Times. LA seeks cool ways to cut city temp. So what Mayor Garcetti's plan is he's a pretty awesome progressive mayor, I must say, and I think he's got eyes on the White House. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not long for this world. But what his plan is to cut the city's temperature by 9 degrees in 20 years. So what happens in any major city is you've got all this concrete. And what asphalt does specifically, it absorbs 90% of the sun's radiation, and then it basically holds it, and then it warms up the air around it. So even as the sun goes down, then the asphalt is releasing, keeping the temperature warm. And you've also got a lot of rooftops that are they're not absorbing the heat in a positive way, or they're just reflecting it. And concrete and asphalt retain a lot of heat and keep everything hot. So I'll give you some statistics here. In 1990, there were only 6 days that were 95 degrees or hotter in downtown Los Angeles. Only 6 days in 1990. Okay? By 2050, they're predicting 22 days. In 2015, we had something like over 10. So what they're going to do, and several things happen. So Los Angeles is on the Pacific Ocean, so the breeze comes from the ocean on the west. And if you live on the west side, everyone talks about it's cooler. So that breeze comes in and is cool on the west side, but then it starts to pick up the warm air as it gets in, and the further it gets inland, then it makes things hotter. And then you've got the valley. You maybe have heard of this, the San Fernando Valley. So that's a mountain range that surrounds it. It doesn't get any of the ocean breezes. So the valley is sometimes 10, 15, even 20 degrees hotter than the rest of Los Angeles. So here's what they're going to do. They're doing several things. First of all, Mayor Garcetti has had a plan to plant more trees, and he's been doing that. But what they're realizing is there's these little islands of heat, and it depends on the neighborhood. And they've done studies where there's not a one-size-fits-all problem. So in the downtown area where there's a lot of high-rises, they're starting to do what's called cool roofs, where they're putting grass on the roof. So it's absorbing more of the heat, and it's not, grass is good for cooling the air. Sorry, I'm not a scientist. So they're doing cool roofs. They're also doing high-tech materials that reflect more than just traditional asphalt or concrete. So, and then also planting a lot of trees. So it's like, what do you do? So in a high-rise area, does a lot of trees work? You have to plant. You have to do the cool roofs thing. Also, solar panels would be my suggestion. And now that Elon Musk has come out with these, if you go to the Tesla website, you'll see the new, and I've talked about it before in this show. They look like they're about the size of like a small iPad. They're a small tablet about like this, and they look like tiles. They're not the big bulky. What I would suggest too is put these new panels on any roof, and then also use trees. The other thing they talk about, and I want to make sure I get the name correctly, is exerscaping XERI escaping. So those are basically drought tolerant plants. So now if you live in Arizona, or have ever been to like Arizona, all of the lawns in Arizona are, you see almost no grass lawns. You see drought resistant plants that grow in the desert. Now Southern California is a desert, and yet all these people have lawns. And Governor Brown in the spring of 2015, when we were in the height of the drought, said the day of the green lawn is over. So I think you're going to see a lot of those things. I've seen some people go with the synthetic grass that is the new sort of what they use in a lot of stadiums. It's field turf, and it's most of the time that's made of recycled tires. So if you're like, I want to have a lawn because my kids want to play in it or whatever, there's that option. But I would also go with drought tolerant plants because they keep the temperatures cooler at night and help things cool down. So these are the options that the city of Los Angeles is doing. And I'll give you a real quick thing. So they tested some high-tech materials that reflect more sunlight in sidewalks and streets, right? And they tested this last summer at Balboa Park, which is in Encino. It was 11 degrees cooler. Encino's in the valley. It's really hot there in the summer. And it was 11 degrees cooler. So that's the key. The high-tech materials that reflect the sunlight, cool roofs, solar panels. That's not really in this article, but that's my thing that I'm adding. And drought-tolerant plants. So if you live in this type of climate, you're in Southern California or Arizona or New Mexico or whatever, implement these things in your own backyard for starters. Get a rainwater catcher. I would suggest doing that because California's gotten a lot of rain this winter and it's great. But you know, what do we do if next winter and the next 2-3 winters after that are dry again? Then what? We'll be right back to where we were. So everybody needs to participate in this. If you work in an office complex, suggest to the owners, the bosses or whatever, put in grass on the roof. They've also done some cool stuff with roofs, and they're just like used to wasted space. And then they put grass up there, and it's become like a break area for the staff. If you work in a high rise, you get to go upstairs and have grass. That's a cool thing. So these are little things that you as individuals can help suggest or even implement yourself. And then, of course, petition your local mayors. They listen. They listen to registered voters. This is Graham Elwood with the Political Vigilante. Thank you for watching. Like it and subscribe.